everybody, welcome to Yarn Yak, where we yak about yarn and fiber crafts.
I'm Carla.
And I'm Kimmer, and we are coming to you from our local yarn shop, The Stash, in Baldwin, Wisconsin. Tonight we are talking about basic finishing do's and don'ts.
That's right. But first we'll show you what we have been working on this week.
What have we been working on this week? I'm working on my first official I Did It With Kimmer project. If you don't know what that is, you're going to know soon. Details are coming in the newsletter and on the website. I think it's going to be fun, and I'm super excited to start some of these with you guys. So in secret, in private, in the quiet times, I'm working on that. I'm getting a first one ready. What are you working on, Carla?
I am crocheting a plant hanger.
Oh, for cute.
Yes, I'm making a pattern. And
you're writing your own pattern?
I am writing my own pattern. I love it when you do that. Yes, and it will be available soon on the Stash's website. But I had bought some plants, and I have one window I can put my plants in because the cats are vicious. Yes. Yes, I have a digger and I have an eater. So, and then the other one doesn't care.
Doubly screwed.
Yes.
And then the third one is the tiebreaker and doesn't care about plants.
Yeah, she doesn't care.
I have a digger and eater. He does both. Oh, the Maine Coon. He does both. He likes to attack the plants and break them into little tiny pieces, as well as dig in the dirt.
Yes.
He's lovely. Just lovely.
Yep. So that when I finish that, I should have that on the next one, possibly. We will. But you'll get to see it, see how it turns out.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Well, if you ever want more information about any of the projects that we're working on or any of the things that we show you or that we're doing while we're sitting here yakking at you guys, just jump on our website, and at the very top of the page, if you are on a desktop, you can click Yarn Yak, and if you're not, you can just search it in the search box, and there's a whole other page that will take you to photos and pattern links and supplies, and there's a couple little blurby things about me and about Carla if you're curious and you just want to laugh at us for a minute. We don't care, we don't mind, on that page, as well as links to our YouTube channel where you can subscribe and ring the bell every time we upload tutorials or do this with me projects or our Yarn Yak episodes in case you missed them on Facebook. So anyway, tonight, finishing do's and don'ts. So we got a couple questions.
Yes.
Off the Facebook page. Particularly one about how to exactly fasten off. Do you just tie knots or what? Was the question, I think, or something kind of like that.
Yep.
And I just want to say officially, explicitly, no. Just no. You do not just tie knots. Don't tie knots. Never tie knots. I will give you a couple different things you can do. Don't tie knots. First of all, though, real quick, I'm going to jump ahead to the next part of our show, which is about wet blocking, because I just want to show you what I have going here. So right now, this moment, I crocheted 2 identical swatches. This one and this one. They're exactly the same stitches, exactly the same yarn, exactly the same hook. Everything is identical. This one, though, has been sitting for about 10 minutes or so in a little cool water bath. Stick your fingers in there, Carla. It's nice and it's not ice cold, but it's just cool.
No, it's cool.
Bath with just about 2 drops of Eucalyptus, which is, it's called wool wash, but it's actually just any delicate fabric that you want to wash. You can use Eucalyptus for. There's scented ones and unscented ones. I recommend this for a couple of reasons, and I'm just going to gloss over this part quick, and then we'll go back to fastening off. You definitely want to use something that's meant for wool, or at the very least for fabric, like woolite, because other things like that you see on the internet that are recommended, like baby shampoo, Dreft, dish soap, I've seen those soaps are not necessarily going to work well on dyed yarn. They may remove some of the superwash properties of a superwash type of yarn, and they may very, very drastically affect the coloring or the ability to hold the color of your yarn. So I would very much recommend that you go ahead and spring for a bottle of Eucalyptus and just keep it in your house. It's like I said, you need literally just a drop or two to make a bath. This piece is very small, but there's just no way to use less than one drop. You just get a drop. Or I would have. Anyway, so we'll talk more about what you do with this after it's had a little whooshy soak, after we got talking about fastening off. So
fastening off.
Back to fastening off. I want to reiterate that you do not tie knots. Never tie knots. We do not tie knots. Knots, no matter how careful you are, you've done this. Mm-hmm. Everyone's done it, okay? We all used to do it. Anyone who doesn't do it anymore, at one point, they did it. They tied their yarn in a knot, like at a join or something, or at the end, because they didn't know any better, okay? When you tie a knot, two things happen. One, it puts tension on your yarn, okay? A lot of tension in one spot. So over time, especially with washing, wherever you tie that knot, it's going to snap eventually. Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's the first reason. And the second reason why we don't tie knots is because no matter how carefully you try to hide that knot inside a stitch, it's gonna move. And the first time that you are showing your beautiful project to somebody, or you have it draped over your lap and your mother-in-law's looking at it, or whatever, that knot is gonna find itself, like it has a giant spotlight on it, mm-hmm. right there, front and center, for the whole world to see this big ugly knot. I'm just saying. Don't tie knots. So how you do it, what you do. You guys have heard me talk about this before, some of you. Those of you who are new to the stash, maybe you don't know this, or maybe you do and I'm repeating myself, but either way, I'm going to tell you how you do it. How you first fasten off, okay? Regardless of whether it's a join or an end, like I'm finished with this swatch. And I left this with the loop so I could show you this. What you do first is you take your tail and you put it back through the loop. Very, very gently. You do not need to wrench on this or anything like that. You just close it up a little bit so that it looks like the side of the stitch. And I'm going to show you that. Huh? Mm-hmm. I'm going to show you that up close and personal. Just looks like the side of the stitch, but now the loop won't come undone if it when you start pulling on it to sew it in or weave it in, okay? So there's two ways to proceed. The first way, what you see a lot of patterns say is weave in your ends. Now, there's been a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Two sides to this. What is weaving in? Carla, what does weaving in mean to you?
Weaving, you're putting it in and out and back through and
of a stitch.
Yeah.
Do you do that with a needle or with your crochet hook? What does that mean to you?
I use a needle.
Okay. So what I've always referred to or heard referred to as weaving in is when you take your end and you either on a needle or with your crochet hook, you just kind of every other over under on the back of your row. Mm-hmm. Or you literally just crochet over it. You just take and crochet over the end. A lot of people do this when they have run out and they're joining a new ball or when they're changing colors. So they just crochet over it. And I used to do it all the time. So I'm going to tell you a quick little story. I just pulled this blanket, this Afghan that I made years ago, out of a pile of blankets this weekend because I wanted to bring some extra blankets down to the living room while my mama was visiting. And I had made this blanket that was like these big, like 16-inch squares. That was basically a flower motif. I am not kidding when I say it. There is some serious work in every one of those squares. And I was just about in tears when I was looking at it because I did all that work and all those pretty stitches and every single color change and every single join when I joined the squares together. Those ends have all worked their way out and they're all fuzzy and it from washing. It just looks like crap because I never sewed the ends down and I never wove them in properly before I did that. I just crocheted over them. So it's something to think about when you want to do that, whether you think the project is worth the effort of sewing your ends down or not. That is what eventually will happen over time. So anyway, what I do now, this is what I recommend to people, is after you have fastened that off in the invisible way, so there is not a knot, it is just pulled back through on itself so that it won't come undone. It won't frog your stitches back out when you pull on it. So what I do after that is I just go ahead and put the yarn on a tapestry needle, just thread it through. I'm saying that, and I have like the fattest yarn in the world right now for this, even this big eye tapestry needle. So it's just taking me a second. Hang on. I don't have my little piece of paper to do my piece of paper trick. Well, it's not my trick. I learned it from Nancy. Anyway, I got it. Okay. So this is me a little, I'm like looking into the sun here with this studio ring light. What I want you to understand is that you want to mimic the stitches. So instead of just going like da-da-da-da-da through like an end, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to stick the needle where I intend to go and then stop and show you. So I'm going to go there and I'm going to pull it through, but I'm not yanking on it. I don't want to pull my corner down round. I want my corner to stay a corner. Okay. So that's where we're at. So far you can't see anything, right? Except for this end hanging out the front. Now I'm going to go over one by going under to the next stitch to my right. And I'm going to show you that. See the end sticking out before I moved? Okay. Now I'm going to go up and I'm going to leave the needle in so you can see where I'm talking about. Essentially, what I am doing is making a square without burdening any one place with more than one thickness of yarn so it doesn't get a big bump in it. I am weaving this yarn, sewing it down though, back around on itself so that the end itself puts tension on itself. And yet none of the stitches are disturbed because I'm moving in the direction. Everywhere I go, I'm moving in the direction of the existing stitch without putting any more than one thickness of yarn through that spot. Okay, this is my exit, so I'm gonna show you that. Now I pull that out. And again, don't wrench on the yarn because you don't want to change the shape of your edges or your stitches. And then I'm just going to give that a snip so that it's not visible anymore. There. The end is woven in.
Boom.
Shazam. Just like that. Like trying to, it's like working in a mirror. There we go. Yep. It's totally secure. It's not going to come out. And if I block this, I could make this a perfect square with matching corners. Like I'm going to block that one, which was also fastened down the same way. So I intend to put a tutorial up on our YouTube channel of a couple different ways to do that, like a couple different methods. But they all amount to the same thing. You mimic the stitch that you're working in or that you're coming off of. You mimic the direction. And at the same time, you work the needle around in essentially what is a square knot without tying a knot. And then you exit from a side, someplace against the stretch of the stitch, so that when the stitch or the edge is pulled, that the yarn doesn't come popping out because it went like that. So against that, if that makes sense. And I can show that better in a tutorial than I can on Yarn YAK. But I hope that gives you a place to start and a place to start going, about fastening down and sewing in your ends. Whatever you do, even if you just weave in and go over, under, and even if you crochet over the ends, whatever you do, don't tie knots. don't do that. Anything but that. That's my Yarn Yak recommendation for you on fastening and weaving and sewing down.
Smart. I've had knots come out.
Have you?
I have.
Oh, I had one let go once on a mandala. The center.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not a knot, but I wove it and I crocheted over it and I did not leave a tail and then take that tail, go back and sew it down.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, I was like, well, this is just a cowl for me. I'm just going to knot it. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It doesn't matter.
Here's the thing I think about that. No matter what it is, you spend time making it.
Oh, yeah.
So you might as well do it right.
Oh, yeah. Imagine my surprise when it slid right out of the knot.
Imagine.
And
the naughty words you could say.
Oh, my gosh. So then I had to get fancy and do something with it. So I put a button over it and attached it. And now there's a button there.
It involved brain power to fix it.
I will tell you what.
Sewing down ends involves no brain power.
But it's a nice reminder of my shame. Because I won't do that again. So every time I look at it, I go, yep, there it is.
I can't remember who it was.
I did that.
But when I first had this shop, somebody brought me something that they had made where they had tied every single color join. They had tied a knot. And they were like, how do you make those go away? And I'm like,
oh, you don't.
Well, you sort of can't right now. Always, when in doubt about what you want to do or how you want to do it, leave a long tail.
Yep.
Anytime you have to snip, leave a long tail because then at least you have options.
Yep.
You have something to fix with. If you decide to whip over your ends with a crochet hook, it's long enough that if it does come popping out, you can be like, oh, really? I'm sewing you down and you have enough to work with. I recommend at least 5 inches of yarn off any place like that. Any place where you have a stop and a start or you're having an end stick, an end where you're done. So you have something to use that you can secure your work with, because there's nothing worse than pulling something out of the dryer and having it just explode.
Terrible.
And for those of you that are about to say, well, I hand wash everything, well, good for you, but some of us don't have time for that.
Yep, you're my hero.
I wish, goals. Right. When I grew up, I want to hand wash everything. I never want to wash. I don't need a washer and dryer anymore.
It's like
like the Amish.
Yeah, it's like me saying that I was going to iron everything before I put it away.
Oh yeah,
that was a lie.
I don't even know where my iron is.
Yeah, that was a lie. We get it out for melty beads.
So I assume it's not being used for clothes anymore?
Melty beads. Yep. Yes, because it was a lie. I was not going to iron everything.
Oh, that's funny.
So.
Okay. The other question that we decided to answer tonight, because we have a little bit shorter episode for you tonight, because we have a visit to a yarn store from our Southern Wisconsin yarn store tour to show you in just a little bit here. So the other question we decided to tackle is basic wet blocking. So first of all, there's a few different kinds of blocking. And I'm not going to get heavily into them tonight. There is wet blocking, which just means exactly what it sounds like. You get the item wet, and then you blot it off, and you pin it or block it into the shape that you would like it to be. There is steam blocking, where you dampen the item with a spray bottle, or use a steam, why can't I think what that's called? Those little steamer machines that you get for your laundry. And you gently pin the item as you steam it and pull it into shape. That is better for yarns that are sensitive to being fussed with. Things that would felt or pill very easily, like mohair. Things like that. Steam is better for that. And then there's the hybrid version, or the poor man's version, where you dampen the item with a spray bottle and then use a hair dryer to create steam. And you can do that, but you have to do it quite quickly to make it work. So tonight I'm just going to go over very basic wet blocking, and this is just a rectangle, so it's not complicated or a little more difficult, like say a sweater or something with an outer shape that has like points or a lot of complicated folds or things like that. Those items I would recommend getting a more experienced blocker to help you with until you have some more experience. it's been in my experience though, people don't make things like that unless they've blocked a time or two other items in the past and they're kind of ready to take that on. My mother-in-law, my ex-husband's mother, was one of the people that very seriously contributed to my love of yarn, and she used to make the most unbelievable layered doilies is the only word I can think of for them, but they were creations, and they would have, you know, graduating tiered sections, and each little part or each little petal she would wet block, steam block it, and wet block it depending on what it was, you know, what it was, and then stiffen it with stiffen spray. And she would like use she had all kinds of little things, little dowels and all this stuff that she would use to perfectly shape, like say, you know, 75 of these petals on this round, and then 150 on this round, and then she'd have the base round with all its perfect little petty point triangle tips out of thread, crocheted out of thread. She'd have tiny little blocking pins in every single one of those, and it was just blocking that thing probably took almost as long as making them, and she used to make them by the mittfuls all year long. So talk about goals. That is like super unbelievably detailed blocking. So anyway, I'm just going to show you I'm going to try to show you how to wet block. So the first thing we're going to do is move all the electronics off the table in front of me. So why, Kimmer? Why do I have to block? This is when you want to block. In the beginner realm or even the intermediate round of crochet, this is why you want to block. Carla's just taking a beat over here. She's working on she's working on something, and she is, you know, she worked for a long time today, and so I'm just going to ramble and talk like I always do anyway, only we have an excuse for it tonight.
Well, the other thing is that, you know, I always viewed blocking as most people view swatching. Okay.
You don't really, I don't really have to do this.
So exactly. So, however,
now you know though.
Yes. However,
however,
yes, it is very important to do it
at times. There are times.
Yes. But when it comes to your finished product, it makes things a lot easier to sew together or to work together. Sorry.
No.
And
you go ahead.
And then it looks so much nicer. So, yep.
Yes,
I guess.
Like she said, anytime you're going to sew one piece to another piece, or join squares or rounds in a blanket, that you definitely want to block your stuff. I have learned the hard way over time. It's easier to do the joining if you block and make everything match up, and it looks a lot nicer if you block it. So that's just one reason. The reason that most people don't know though and don't understand is that when yarn absorbs water and then dries back out, it is fluffier, and at the same time the fibers lay more in the way that they're supposed to, and it also smooths the ply, so it opens up any detailed stitches a little bit, and yet at the same time it straightens everything out. So when people say my work looks nicer after I block, that's what they're talking about. It's definitely, it also can increase the size of your work by as much as an inch square all the way around. More if you stretch it. Don't do that. Don't overstretch it. And then anything you have where your edges are rolling, blocking will fix that. There's a little saying that says, anytime your stuff looks a little wonky, where like two corners are rounded and the other two aren't, anything like that, it's called wonky. If it looks wonky, block that shit out. Just get it, damp it quick and pin it down and block it out. Now, do you have to have a crap load of expensive equipment to do blocking? No, you do not. There are things that are nice to have that make it easier to do because they're made for the work. They're made for blocking. Just like any other craft or hobby, depending on how much blocking you do will determine if you A, spend any money on blocking supplies at all, and then B, how much of them or what level of them you decide to invest in. I have a bunch of blocking mats. And you'll notice that they are basically the same thing as those child puzzle piece playmat activity mats. Sometimes those can be gotten for quite a bit less than what sells as a blocking mat. There are some that have a grid on them. Those are really nice when you're working it with squares or smaller pieces. So much like quilting, so that you can math out triangles, squares, and other shapes and get everything exactly right before you start joining things together. These particular ones don't have a grid, but I have ones that do. So other things that you can use that would probably suffice is like a clean yoga mat or exercise or activity mat. In a pinch, you can take a couple pieces of cardboard and then lay a couple thick towels on top of that. Just got to be careful with that because there isn't a lot of airflow. The towels will hold the water and it might take a long time for your item to dry. And some things like cotton might get they could start going over if it stays wet too long. So just keep that in mind if you decide to go that route. Don't use bare cardboard. There are chemicals in cardboard that when you mix them with water and possibly soap or something, they can start doing weird things to your yarn and you don't want to mess with that. Nobody wants a bad surprise. Good surprises are great, but bad surprises stink. So the other thing that you need is some kind of pin. Now, there's the steel T-top pins. Those are very inexpensive. They come in big containers. You can buy them pretty much anywhere. There's nothing wrong with those. They are a single pinpoint. So sometimes you need that. Sometimes for detailed things, you need only one single pinpoint. In general, though, as a crocheter, I tend to be blocking larger things or things with straight edges like squares for blankets. So I really like these kind of pins, these kind of blocking pins. They come in various lengths, and these are just small ones because what I'm going to block right now is fairly small. But they are great because they have 4 to 7 pins on them. So you can stick one in each stitch generally, or every other stitch depending on how fine your gauge is, and pull more than, pull a couple inches of a section and pin it in place at a time. That helps actually keep your straight edges more accurate. So I like these. So I'm going to take my little sample here. The next thing you have to know about wet blocking is blotting. So, and again, you don't need, there are great, like specially made towels for this. They're basically, what is that called? A chamois?
Yeah,
they're basically a chamois. Some of them are really big for doing big like pieces, like if you wash a whole blanket and you want to block it. Most people block something before they join it, so they're blocking small pieces. I'm not saying you would never block a whole blanket, but it's just not normal, like ordinarily necessary to do. So the other things you can do besides buying a chamois is just a few towels rolled up into a thicker, these are just like dish towels, and I've got like, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them here folded in halves to make a blocking pad. So I'm going to take my little sample piece, which has been soaking in this Eucalyptus water, and I've gently, ever so often, gently kind of squished it like so. Just give it a little squish. It's acrylic, so squishing it around isn't going to hurt nothing. You will see that the red color in this yarn has ever so slightly pinked the water. Another good reason to block things, bleeding. If you block it, you will probably take care of any color fastness issue before it's combined with a bunch of other colors or, your white towels. Husbands, I'm just saying, you never know. So now I have this. I didn't wring it out or anything really. I just a little tiny bit, I guess I sort of did. So I have this. So I'm going to lay this on that flat pack of towels just like that. I'm going to roll it up like a sushi. So I'm just going to roll it up. I don't want to crinkle it up on itself. I don't want to smash my stitches together or pull them apart. So I'm just going to roll it like so. I'm going to hold this up and show you, don't worry. Like that. Just going to roll it inside there. And then I'm going to just gently squeeze it like this. And let the towels do the work. Let them blot the water off of it. This was chunky yarn. So it you know, I definitely want to make sure I get as much excess water blotted off of this before I go to pin it. So now I'm going to open up my sushi roll and I'm just going to move it to a different spot. Oh, a lot of water already came out of that. And I'm going to do it again. Just going to roll it up. I'll leave this wet part hanging out now because I don't want to put water back in. And I'm just squeezing without twisting, or you don't need to wrench on it. You don't want to, like I said, you don't want to like abuse your poor thing that you just made that you're trying to make look nice. You don't want to stretch it while it's wet and rip it apart and make it look worse. So feel this now, Carla.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So blotting takes a lot of the water back out.
Damp.
It's just barely damp.
It just feels
and
damp.
It was just soaking wet. So
yeah.
Now that it's damp, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my mat and I'm going to lay it on the mat, you guys, and show you what I mean by straight edges. So right now I have this corner's pulling in, this one's kind of round, this one's also kind of round, and this one's slightly straighter. Now every one of these corners has the exact same 2 half double crochets with a chain 1 in it, every one of them. So it's just yarn, right? Remember, we've talked about this. It does what it wants. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this blocking pin and I'm sticking it. If you'll notice, it lands right in those 4 stitches. And I'm just going to straighten her out and pin it. And, you know, counter tension is the best way to keep things nice and straight. So now I'm going to do the opposite corner. Think like, you know, making a bed. How do you do your corners? And I'm going to straighten that one out. And now this corner across from there, same thing. Make sure I've got the first spike of the first pin in the corner itself. So I'm not just stretching a stitch out. I missed, so I'm going to do that again. There we go. Then I'm also kind of eyeballing the line here to make sure that it is straight. And you guys have actually a pretty good view of that, so you can see for yourself that it is. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to make sure I land it in the corner itself and straighten that one out like that. So I'm going to putz with it a little bit more, but I really don't need to do anything more to this. It's not big enough to concern myself with these edges. If anything, to reduce the roundness of it, I'm just going to bring it in just maybe a centimeter so that it's in line with these 2 corners right here. And then I'll do the same thing on this side, even though from here I can't actually tell if it needs to be done, but I'm just going to double check. There. Just a few pins, and this little piece is blocked off nice and square. It'll probably be completely dry within an hour. If I needed it to be drier faster, I could take a hairdryer to this on low heat or with the cool shot button on and have this dry in no time. But I don't, so I'm not going to worry about it. Wet blocking 101.
We hope that answered a few of our viewers' questions. And as always, if you have a question,
all you got to do is comment on the pinned post on our Facebook page where it says questions, and the yarns do a little happy dance and put their hats, or the hens, I should say, do a little happy dance and put their yarn hats on. You can post a question there. You can send it to us in a Facebook message. You can email it to kimmer@thestashbusters.com or kimmerstash@gmail.com, or you can stop in at the store and say, hey, I got a question.
All right. Now check out this clip about FIBRE in Neenah, Wisconsin.
We had so much fun there, you guys. That was a really great store. And I really highly recommend stopping in there if you head down that way to the opposite corner of Wisconsin. So check this clip out. we really want to thank Tori, the owner of FIBRE, for having us and showing us such a warm welcome.
And such a great afternoon. And also for this amazing coffee mug.
I have been using this coffee mug that she gave us every freaking day since we got home. We decided to keep it in the store. And I guess it's kind of mine.
Oh, it is yours.
It's kind of mine,
sure.
yeah.
For sure
but
yours.
She gave it to me. This is her store mug that her like extra special customers get, I guess. Isn't this great? I just love it so much. And I felt so special. I did. Yes. I was like, oh my God, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tori. It's my new favorite coffee mug.
It is amazing.
So
I love the lip on it.
I know. And it keeps my coffee pretty hot. It keeps my coffee pretty hot. So yeah. Hey Carla.
Hey Kimmer.
It is now time for the Desert Island segment, or otherwise known as the hilarious question segment,
right,
of our show.
Okay.
Sometime I'm going to throw a completely different hilarious question at you that's not a deserted island question.
All right.
And it's just going to come out of nowhere and you're going to be like, what the heck is happening here? Is it an alternate universe? That's what it's going to be like. Do you believe me?
I do believe you. Unfortunately, I do believe you.
Unfortunately. Okay. Carla.
Right. Yes.
If you were stranded on a deserted island and you could only do one craft and you had to eat only one every time you did that craft forever, many, 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 many moons from now.
Okay.
What craft and what treat would you choose?
One craft.
One craft and one treat every time you do the craft.
Well, I'd have to say crochet.
Why? Do tell why.
Because I love it.
I know, but is it because it's versatile?
It is very versatile.
Or is it because,
yes, it's addicting.
It's because of all the things?
It's all the things. It's easy. It's easy for me to do because it was the first thing that I learned. And it has sentimental reasons because my aunt had shown me how to do it.
Yeah.
So I think about that.
Isn't that funny how we all have like somebody, a lot of us do anyway, have somebody like in our past as a child or whatever, a grandma, an aunt, a cousin, a neighbor, whatever.
Yeah.
Somebody that put yarn in your hands one time.
Yep. And you remember them forever.
Ever.
Because they really opened it. You know, for me, it's like a door was opened and...
What?
Yeah, exactly.
Angels sang,
yes,
organs played.
Yes. The
Me
heavens
too.
were aglow.
Yeah, there was light from above.
Yes, it was
something
it was
went
wonderful.
What? In my brain.
Yeah, and the thing is that I had never asked her. So the fact that she just looked, you know, she just came to find me and give
said,
me a hook and yarn
try
and say,
this.
I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm going to show you how to create. And I love that. I think that it's easy for me, it is easy to use crochet to create things. So
yeah, I'd have to agree.
Things that I need.
I create lots of things. There's lots of things I know how to do, and I would have a really hard time answering that question. And I think I would probably have to come down on crochet. Even though it would be a really close second with burning wood. It would be really close.
I like to burn wood too.
I know.
It might be in a fire pit.
Yeah.
But, you know.
You do what we call max burning, like broad strokes burning.
Yeah.
You just burn the whole, burn it all.
Broad strokes, yes. I burn it all.
Burn it all.
Oh, so one treat.
What treat? One treat.
So,
every time you craft, you have to eat this one treat, and you can only have one treat forever until you die.
And it's a treat. And
whatever it is.
So
to you.
I'm on this desert island.
On a desert island. You have an endless supply of this craft and this treat.
Okay. So let's go with beer.
Some drunk crochet, and I like it. I like it.
Why not? I love beer. So
well, yeah. I mean, that's who cares? You're on a deserted island.
Well,
you're gonna die eventually.
Thinking,
you might as well go out having fun.
I was thinking chocolate, but and I don't want coffee to be my treat because I love coffee. But I wouldn't have that on a deserted island, would I?
Well, you can have one treat forever.
Yeah. Well, I'm changing my treat. Then I want coffee.
Because you have one
I wouldn't
thing.
Have that.
That's it.
Yeah. And I like beer, but I love coffee.
Dude, you need coffee for your brain to go.
I love coffee.
Your brain will go without beer.
Yeah. Well, it stops on beer. So to be fair.
To be fair.
I
think I know someone else who also has their brain stop.
Yes, I know somebody else too. So
I know somebody who makes dishcloths when her brain stops.
Yes. So, and that's the reason, because I cannot drink and crochet together.
Do you lose count? Is it counting, or is it just the mechanics?
Oh my gosh. I get just so many. No, it's counting. I get a lot of, I get some really weird row counts. So, I don't
have that. I don't
coffee.
drink. It's not that I don't want to, or I just don't, it doesn't agree with me. And so I don't know what that's like.
I don't drink a lot, but every now and again, it would be nice to have one. But if it's just one thing, and I'm on a deserted island.
One thing on a deserted island, what's it going to be?
It's going to have to, I don't think, it's got to be coffee.
Got to be coffee.
It's got to be. Coffee is my
coffee
thing.
And crafting, coffee and crochet. That's what Carla picks. Coffee and crochet.
I love coffee.
Good
and
deal.
Crochet.
Yeah. All right.
Yes. How about you? What would you choose?
Like I said, it would be difficult for me to choose between crochet and pyrography, but I think I would land on crochet just because it's endlessly creative, and after a while, I would run out of ideas of things to design in wood burn. For a treat, I think I have to go with coffee. I mean, chocolate or ice cream, but you get sort of sick and full of eating ice cream. And I eventually get sick from drinking coffee, but I got to drink like 3 pots for that to happen in one day. So I'm pretty sure I'm good. I'm pretty sure I could sip coffee all day while I crochet, and I would be safe. Yeah. And my brain would work.
It's also a diuretic, and you don't know what you're going to be eating, so you might as well have something that's going to help you out. Not gonna lie.
From those constipating slugs and snails you're gonna be digging out of the sand for dinner.
Yes, exactly. Or having nothing.
What kind of deserted island is this that we're going to anyway? I mean, don't they have room service? What's going on?
They have nothing. They have nothing.
All
right. So mine is just really short. Would you rather have, if you're stuck on a deserted island, would you rather have unlimited canned goods so you have a source of food?
Is it freaking dog food again? Okay. It's actual food this time?
No, it is not like just baked beans or lima beans or anything like that. It's food. Let's say it's
a variety of canned goods.
Yeah, it's surprising. No labels. No, I'm just kidding. There could be labels. Okay. But would you rather have unlimited canned goods? Or let's just say maybe they're MREs. Maybe they're something like that. Just your food supply is guaranteed. Would you rather have that or a flock of sheep? Your cute little black-faced sheep with the little black knees.
Wait, do I have yarn?
I haven't determined that. You're going to have... You might have to make your own yarn. We don't know.
Wait. This is complicated. Are you saying I have to eat those sheep? If I don't choose the canned goods, then I have to eat. Because I'm not eating. I am not eating my cute little black-faced sheep. I will starve and die first.
But would you? No, you wouldn't have to. So you would have unlimited food things, or you would have this flock of sheep. So your food is guaranteed, or you'd have a flock of sheep. It's not saying that you have to eat the sheep. However,
but this mutton fest would be going on in front of me all the time while I'm slowly starving to death eating snails, is what you're saying. Oh my God, this is
or fishing.
It's an unanswerable.
Maybe you're eating coconuts and mangoes.
I'm gonna go with the sheep. I have something to do. If I actually start to starve to death, I could. I doubt it, but maybe. Yeah. I think you do things when you're hungry that you wouldn't
have to use your yarn scissors.
Yeah. But I could fish anyway. And wait, what are the sheep gonna eat? This is a complicated question. I'm gonna go with the sheep.
Seagrass.
But most people would probably go with the food supply, and they'd crochet some plant fibers.
Sure.
I'm gonna go with the sheep. It's cute. They're company.
Yep.
If it's the sheep I like, especially, they're cute and they're something to talk to, something else alive, and I can use their fleece.
Yep.
And for something to do, and maybe they can help me find food. You don't know.
That's right.
Without being food.
Right.
Sheep. Everyone's going to be on Facebook going, Kimber, you're such an idiot.
Sheep.
Why would you not take the food?
Sheep. Oh, sheep are fun.
Sheep. It's going to be the sheep.
I knew it would be.
I'm absolutely, completely in love with those little black-faced sheep. I think they're called Valois sheep.
Yeah,
They're so stinking cute. I can't even. I love them. Those sheep as lambs. Every time I see a picture of them, I'm just like, oh my God.
I love it when they
and
jump.
I start doing like dumb girl things like, oh! Yeah.
I love it when they jump
so
and they're
adorable.
like jumping sideways and jumping backwards and they're just like bouncy.
Yeah, they're so adorable. All right. Well, we hope you found tonight's episode of Yarn Yak helpful, enlightening, and so on and so forth. You can ask us questions on our Facebook page, like we said. Be sure to check out our website at www.shopthestashbusters.com. And also check out our YouTube channel. If you subscribe and ring the bell, you will get notified whenever we upload tutorials or anything new or Yarn Yak episodes. And you can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. So tune in next week for another enlightening episode of Yarn Yak, and happy yarning, friends. Woohoo! We'll see you next week.
Yarn.